thank you. Good to be with you again. Good morning, or maybe good afternoon by now. What we're going to do is we're going to introduce a panel that will bring you the expertise of how to implement new technology, specifically digital technology, with a very strong focus on business excellence. What you don't know about all four of them, they also are experts at Game of Thrones. So if there are any questions you want to ask them about how this actually finishes up, they'll be available at lunchtime to chat with you. I want to bring up on the stage to join me. The first person is Jen Hewit, who is the head of user experience, strategy, and analytics at Bank of America. Apparently a fan club. You've been here before. Okay, it's good. This is good. Next, we have Shridhar Karale, who is the VP of Strategy, Innovation, and Business Process Excellence at Becton Dickinson. We're joined all the way from Calgary, Canada, with James Bell coming here. He's the General Manager of Integrated Global Services at Longview Systems. James is clearly milking his way up here. You were hoping for more claps, weren't you? Yeah, okay, it's all right. You're fine, it's fine. And then lastly, we have Bhupesh Trivedi, who is the Application Delivery Director for AXA Equitable Life Insurance Company. Oops. So let's get right to it. One of the things that we think about in business excellence is an area that is very important to many of you in the financial services environment. It has to do with Amelia's ability to adhere to compliance and regulations, very specific instructions. So not straying for those kinds of instructions that might in fact endanger a call center or responses that an organization might give to their customers or prospects. And one of the things I wanted Bhupesh to just mention is he has a particular comment on a personal impact of compliance.
Right, so for compliance perspective, right, just to cover that, the panel here, the discussion today, it's all the reflection or the based on the personal experience and as a practitioner in the industry for 20 plus agile and adaptive years of experience and the knowledge, not particularly reflect or represent AXA Equitable Life Insurance Company itself or any of affiliates, but any of the reference or anything, it's pure personal experience perspective.
Well, with your personal experience with Application Delivery Director, I think that we should turn to you a bit about, okay, how are you going about this in a very diverse environment, the newly IPO'd capability and the company and its focus on costs and delivery and so forth. How are you organizing yourself around implementing this technology? There's a phrase we often hear, center of excellence. Is this something that you've focused on and how you organize your efforts?
Correct. Thank you, Jonathan. I lead the Automation Center of Excellence at our company. As we understand, right, as I think automation and AI is not a luxury anymore, it's a necessity, right? Every organization in some capacity are interacting with competitors who have already started in this journey, right? So it's a necessity. Center of Excellence is not just a technology focus, but as part of the Center of Excellence, you have to bring the other aspect throughout the organization, the visioning, the adaption side of it, the communication side of it, all that you have to bring it into part of Center of Excellence when you set it up. And the technology perspective, I think you start with basically you look at what you want to, you align with your vision, mission statement with your company objective, right? Of course, whatever we do is for the company's objective. It has to align. And in light of that, basically, you see what exact objective you want to achieve from business perspective, and then you align your automation strategy across the board, not just at one particular focused use case or anything. You start there, but I think the strategy perspective, you have to look at across the board from the business perspective.
Shridhar, if you would like to comment, I know that you're also involved, and Becton Dickinson has been really a leader in implementing new technologies and delivering your services and supporting your people internally.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan, for your question. And I think we are almost in the third year of our journey in implementing the innovation technologies like RPA and AI and big data. And I will agree with Bhupesh. It's not just the technology. Sometimes, people get very excited as a technologist about the technology per se, but it is all about the business results and business outcomes you are trying to drive in your organization. And the clear linkage between the organization strategy and what you are trying to apply the technology, I think, has to be established. That's very, very important. The stakeholder management component is extremely important, because I would like to say that first couple of months our journey was pretty rocky, because you have to have the startup type mentality. So many of these projects, if they are not clearly established with the outcome and the goals, in the first 6 months, as a science experiment in a big corporation, that can get crushed very easily. So having that partnership and stakeholder engagement is extremely important part of your goal and strategy, because this is not the short-term goal. I think it's a long-term journey, and you have to have good start and stakeholder engagement right up front.
I think I would comment that in both of your cases, I think that working with you, we're able to really build blueprints for implementation to better assure success, to be able to work with a lot of your skilled people that have been leaders in this effort for a while. So thank you both in that regard. But I want to turn to something both of you said. There's a key element to this, and it's people. And so the real question is, I would turn to Jen. What are the sets of people that you really need to gather around you to be an implementer of this new technology?
So I think it's an interesting time, and as I've gone along my journey, I've completely changed the way I've structured my teams to be able to deliver against disruptive technology. So if you think about it today, big enterprises competing with how consumers are dealing with technology in the world, how your users are dealing with their consumer technology. And I think the way we deal with Uber and Facebook and all of those kind of things, there's no cognitive load. We don't have to think, but you walk into an enterprise or we're expecting our users to understand all of the processes that they shouldn't really have to be bothering about. So as I've kind of established centres of excellence, I've thought about really bringing in a lot of those humanistic skills, not thinking about solving a technology problem, but thinking I'm solving a human problem. So as I've created centres of excellence, I've brought in obviously technologists, but I've also brought in skills like neuroscience, psychology, and more of those art skills, user experience, design, so that we can ensure that the technology we're implementing can really attract our humans to use it.
Yes. I think Uber's finding out that the human aspect of their delivery service is awfully important, given none of them are working right now.
Yes.
So yellow cabs are available outside. One of the things I wanted to mention in James Bell's case is they're early in the implementation of IP Center and our first efforts at really developing virtual employees, in this case virtual engineers. And so James has really been leading that and implementing that environment at Longview. How about telling us a bit about how to create and empower teams to deliver in this very new world that you're facing?
From a Longview perspective, and I think you mentioned it earlier, one of the key things we did right off the bat was align the charter of this project to part of our mission statement and our commitment to our employees. And what we specifically addressed is in our mission statement, we tell our employees we want to provide as many healthy lives and prosperous careers as possible. So we aligned project goals to how automation was then going to impact people in their daily lives. Our employees went from fearing a project like this to really embracing it, because what they understood was they were going to be given an opportunity to retrain, to do more interesting work, to not have to do the mundane level 1, level 2 tasks that we ask of operational people day in and day out. So on January 1st of this year, our automation pipeline was actually pretty barren. And once we actually started assembling our teams with the project team focused on our autonomics, and they understood that they could get rid of all of that work, the excitement and the desire to work as part of the project and the desire to move on to bigger and better things in their careers really motivated them. And we were given a mission and a goal by our CEO to not lose a single employee because of automation. And we're on track for that right now.
Well, so if I could stay with you, James, just on that subject, and I would turn to Jen as well. Let's go and just explore a bit more about the people aspect. People don't come with these skills necessarily. There's really a dearth of those skills available in the marketplace. Tell me about how do you retool the existing workforce to get them to be more competent, supportive, and involved in your project?
So the first thing is you have to get them to overcome fear. And I think it was 2 weeks ago, there was a survey that went out. A pollster in the United States looked at, I think, 1,000 people and asked them if they feared artificial intelligence. And 57% of them said they actually fear for the human race because of AI. And what we did is we started to get people to correlate that AI it's not a bad thing, it's not going to take your job. And oh, by the way, you're not going to remain an IT professional for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years if you don't have a solid career plan and a path and a training plan that actually supports that. So from a retooling perspective, you're exactly right. These people don't exist today. So we've taken some of our senior operational leaders and created an automation services team, which allowed for a net new career progression opportunity for several employees. And it's basically a task force or a SWAT team of people who go and look for those use cases and for those pieces that absolutely have to be automated for our business to continue to grow. And the training specifically, whether it's IP soft training or whether it's some other vendor training that we've provided, we have led our company with over 50% of our people embracing net new training plans because they see not a light at the end of the tunnel, they see the opportunity at the end of the tunnel. But we had to paint that vision, we had to paint that picture, and then again, support our company's vision and our mission statement in terms of what we're going to provide to our employees.
I would comment that I think you said 57% of the people fear AI. I think that's the same amount that fear President Trump, but that's another subject altogether. That's lunchtime discussion, I'm sure. So, Jen, just a little bit more on the people aspect.
I think you have to change the way you think about doing things. To be honest with you, as I've established competency centres in this space, I actually have onboarded people into my organisation and who have completely different skill sets. I recently hired somebody who was a musician on a cruise ship, but they had grit and they had enthusiasm and they had willingness to learn. And I think that I often just don't look at CVs. I want to talk to the person. I want to understand if they've got passion to want to drive change and change the world and use disruptive technology to enhance productivity of the users in the bank. And to me, that's far more important than some of the qualifications. So if you're finding the right people, anyone can learn. Anyone can learn as long as they're open enough to talk and go and do some training and skill themselves up. So for me, I think it's about looking at those core skills in a human being who has interest and enthusiasm to take on some of these things to build out a really solid competency centre.
A musician on a cruise ship.
Yep.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Jonathan, if I may add what Jen just said, what we have realized that there are two types of skill sets, and the one is we always talked about aptitude and attitude. So aptitude is the component which can be adapted, trained. You can invest into technical training, whether it's a linguist or data science or any of those capability. What is more important is the attitude component of it, and how do you create that positive attitude within the organization is probably the most important part of the engagement.
So it's the mindset, right? It's the mindset that you need to promote across the board. That's the message has to come from top to bottom. These skills are brand new skills, right? Everybody's learning. Right?
Yes.
So that's a fail forward. That environment you have to create as a leader in the organization. And then training, of course, needs to be made available to the people. But main thing is the mindset and
and that's our responsibility as leaders to encourage that, right? If you haven't got leadership from the top who are encouraging you to take some risks and drive change, then the competency center won't be able to deliver.
And we talk a lot about technology outcomes, business outcomes, and how these projects' success factors are measured. If you don't have a people outcome measure in a project like this, you're missing the boat. And so, for a lot of our senior technical talent, one of the things we had to also get them to be comfortable with is the concept of a T-shaped role versus always feeling like they have to be the SME or the alpha dog of their technology space. And T-shaped skills are, to me, it really is about the aptitude and the attitude, as you said.
So I want to turn back to Bhupesh for a moment and really talk about this importance of leadership and management, supervisory direction for this new group of people that we're pulling together. It comes to mind, you start thinking about governance, right? How do you govern over this kind of organization? It's going to be new. You've got a lot of different skill sets that are bringing in. You're going to do a lot of trial work. You're going to really be in that sample environment. There's a lot of things that are uncertain about direction. How do you provide good corporate governance over a center of excellence, some of the kinds of things you've been working on?
Sure. So from the governance, right, at the corporate level, I think it brings the vision, right, that someone have to set the right vision. And with current environment and where the world is changing in front of our eyes, where we are going, automation, AI should be part of that vision from the business perspective also. The other thing it brings is the transparency and accountability, right? So I think that is something, as everybody is learning, we want to create a good environment where people can learn, fail forward, etc. But again, we don't want to divert from our business objectives. So the accountability that we have to, from governance perspective, we have to put the process and governance around it. So those are the things I think we have to bring. And then the real measure thing is around the measuring. How do you measure the success, right? We to the people success, to the business objective success, technological delivery success. So that measurement, I think those are the things that we really have to bring it to, from the governance perspective, you have to bring out when you're putting this center of excellence together.
Shridhar, do you want to make a comment?
Yeah,
there?
I think the other point I would like to highlight, I think time and again we use the term projects and we use the term program. I think the way we look at it internally within our company, I think if you look at AI as a project or programs, it's definitely going to fail because project or a program has a timeline, a horizon, So this is a journey. So if you're not looking at it more from the organizational change perspective, and cultural aspect of it is very important. So when you incorporate the governance, I think the governance is not about how do you govern the technology investment, which all of us know. The key point is more about how do you involve the leadership to bring that cultural transformation so that the way of thinking is different. When you are addressing the problem within the organization in manufacturing, quality or compliance or legal or regulatory, I think the problems could be very specific to that area, but cultural transformation is not specific to the area. And that's where the senior leadership engagement and understanding that cultural transformation is going to take time and it's a journey, and investing in that is equally important if that's the only way to success, I think, for the longer term horizon. Yeah.
I think someone said that you look at this journey that you're on, it's likely you'll have failures. And you shouldn't be disappointed by those. And so as supervisors, leaders of these centers, one of the things is encourage people in an innovation environment. Failure is okay. Failure is okay. Because we're trying to find that solution, we're going to push the edges of the technology and how it fits in the company. And there are going to be some times when we don't succeed, but be patient. The delivery ultimately is directionally correct. How do you deal with that just quickly as we wrap up?
How do we survive, and in that environment where everybody is looking at you from the investment and the ROI perspective, So that's where I think the way we adapted a strategy of, there are always low-hanging fruits in the organization, big corporation. There are areas of inefficiency. So I think first you need to go there and attack that so that you can release the cost pressure. And as soon as you have that, you have the stakeholder on your side and use that investment into solving pretty complex, crazy problems which nobody has touched for years. Because those problems are going to take time. But if you are able to solve that complex problem, then the organization is going to be behind you. But you have the investment which comes out of your initial problems resolution.
I think I would just close with the comment that when Thomas Edison and I invented the light bulb, many of you people don't believe that, apparently. But when we invented the light bulb, one of the fascinating things was it took 10,000 filaments to fail until we found the one that worked. And I thought Tom's comment, I actually gave it to him as a quote, but his comment was, at least we know 10,000 things that don't work. And when we think about that, that's really what we're doing here. We're pioneering. We're testing. We're pushing an envelope. We're going at an edge. And having leaders like you in charge of those efforts is very comforting. And we really appreciate your comments here today. Thank you.